Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing a review of Pokemon Snap, a very interesting game for the N64 that brings back a lot of 90s memories for me. Pokemon Snap is actually kind of an odd concept that on paper sounds incredibly dull, just absolutely boring, and even as a young kid it sounded kind of odd until I saw it being played for the first time. In Pokemon Snap, you don't even play as Ash Ketchum, which at the time was kind of an odd thing because of the popularity of the cartoon series back when I was in elementary school. You play as a photographer going around helping Professor Oak gain knowledge about Pokemon by taking pictures of them. That's why it's Pokemon Snap. It's all you do. You are on this little craft that Professor Oak created that takes you on a completely on-rails path. You have no control of where you're going. You only control where the camera is moving, where you're looking around. You can throw certain objects. And your objective is to take pictures and catalog a little over 60 Pokemon, I think it was 63 officially, and unlocking new areas by creating the best photo possible, getting them perfectly in frame, getting multiple Pokemon in one shot, having them do a special action that is related to that specific Pokemon, or even doing things like trying to lure Pikachu with a bunch of apples, or fruit, whatever they're supposed to be, apples or peaches, over to like a surfboard and have him ride on the surfboard, and that's a special shot, or using different balls to go, like pester balls, to get certain Pokemon angry, or to get them to run somewhere, or using the magic flute to get a Snorlax to wake up, or just lots of different effects. There's lots of little tricks to get the best picture. That's the ultimate goal. At the end of each stage, you go through, again, just an on-rails track for about 3 to 5 minutes for each level, and there's only a handful of levels, fairly short game. And at the end, you go through your entire catalog of pictures that you took during that little short run and decide which ones you want to show to Professor Oak. And at the end, Professor Oak will rate them based on a bunch of different categories. Again, as I said, in the middle of the frame, how big is the Pokemon, is it doing a special action, is there another, say, like 2 Pidgeotos in it versus just 1, and all those different things, and it'll compare it to earlier photos. Say you redo a level and you collect better photos, it can compare it to the old ones, and you can choose which one you want to keep. And the idea is to get a high enough score to access the next stage. And eventually you get to the point where to access further stages you actually have to explore the environments and do different things to manipulate the Pokemon. Like I said, getting Pikachu onto a surfboard or something, or just getting different Pokemon to stop running or roll around, or throw things into the water to get water Pokemon to jump out. A bunch of different things to influence the Pokemon, have them interact with the environment within these short little levels to get different doorways to open and create new pathways to new levels. And it's definitely a game that is addictive and fun and charming and incredibly simple, and it's something where it's just a fun thing that you can sit down and play through and completely beat in a couple of hours. I mean, if you're not concerned about getting every single Pokemon and the greatest photos ever, you can probably plow through it in a little over an hour, honestly, if you know what you're doing. And it's not really a challenging game in any way. Once you figure out the secrets, again, you can just open up all these secrets immediately on your first try half the time. But it's a very, very fun game that sort of defies logic. It's something where sitting in a complete on-rails section where you have no control of where you're going and just taking pictures of different Pokemon as you're going through sounds dull, and the fact that the game only has a handful of levels, and even for the early 90s original series of Pokemon, it has only a little over half of them in it. It feels like something that's a little too short. It's brief, it's easy, it's simple, but for some reason it's addictive and fun. It has a sense of nostalgia. Even when you played it for the first time, and I was fairly young when it came out, it still made me feel. It made me remember just like nice, easy summers, hanging out with friends, and just brought you to this sort of just happy, calm place with this nice, simple, sweet music, the very, very incredibly colorful and bright levels that have the very typical N64 style where it's kind of blocky and lacks a lot of detail, but is very colorful and bright. Sort of look at stuff like Mario 64, even some of the later games like Conker's Bad Fur Day is one of the few games that brought in a little more of that detail, but that typical N64 style where there's not as much of a huge difference in graphical quality from the launch of the console even till the end, just has that very standard look that a lot of Nintendo games of that era had. But it's not to its detriment at all. It really works with a lot of Pokemon and probably would have looked worse, honestly, if they tried to add more effects like texture on the fur, or like maybe some gleam on like Scyther's like little like knife hand things. It probably would have looked worse. It really works with that very cartoony style, goes along with the sort of childish, the beautiful music and the colors. It's one of those things where you can just kind of sit down and have fun and really get into it. It's something where I've experienced a lot of people that you show it to them for the first time and they, again, think that it sounds incredibly stupid and boring, and you watch them really get into it. I actually watched a couple of different YouTubers experience this game for the first time, and it was, again, the same exact experience each time. They thought it was incredibly dumb, and then by the third or fourth level, they're like, oh my god, Charmander! Look, no, go shoot up! And it's definitely better with friends, too, having them yell at the person, no, do this, move that way, get that Pokemon, oh, you missed him, get a better shot. It can be a lot of interactive fun, and really, to me, Pokemon Snap, for all those reasons, kind of embodies what the N64 was. It was something that brought about this sort of childlike, but not in a childish manner, not in an immature manner, but just a carefree, happy attitude and feeling that was very interactive and something that was better enjoyed with friends. So Pokemon Snap, for me, is a great game that does, though, have a handful of flaws. I mentioned a couple times how there's only about half of the original Pokemon, or a little over 60, and there's only a handful of stages. And yes, to get everything and to try and get better shots, you do have to go through those stages multiple times. Especially if it's your first time playing through, you might have to do some of the levels 3 or 4 times before you get all the little tricks. But even doing that, it's only a few hours long. It's something where, to me, it is good for the experience that it's not completely just over the top long. It's not something that has 20 different stages and you have to get every single Pokemon. That actually might have hurt the game. It might have been a little too much, and it might have lost a little bit of that just sit down and have fun for a few hours feel that I think really worked for it. But in saying that, it was almost a little too short. It's a little too far in that way. You don't want to go to the far extreme and have too much. You don't want to go to the other extreme and have too little. And it was a little too far this way. It probably could have used a few more stages and just another maybe 24 Pokemon in there, and it would have been a better experience overall. It's a little too brief. And one of the coolest things about this, though, was something that I never had a chance to do. I know a lot of people that did. You could actually, back in the day, in different countries, take your Pokemon Snap to participating stores. In the US, it was Blockbuster, and they would have a kiosk where you could put your game in and actually print out your favorite pictures of the Pokemon, which is something that today probably doesn't sound that cool, and you could probably, just have my Xbox One hooked up over my internet to a computer and print something out and whatever. Back in the day, that was a really, really cool and very unique thing, and was probably one of the best marketing things Nintendo did. I mean, N64 was struggling, especially outside of the US, places like Japan where it had the Saturn, N64 was being crushed. But something like this, that the very, very incredibly unique and just childlike creation really helped Nintendo at the time and was a definite bestseller and should have been a bestseller. It's something where it was just a very, very fun experience that I don't know why there's not a Pokemon Snap 2 on the Wii U. I mean, having that pad is perfect. Could actually be the camera. You can actually look around your living room for Pokemon and things, and it would be fantastic, and it would have been just a very easy cash grab in a way. They could easily make it, again, a fairly short game, doesn't include every Pokemon, and make a ton of money off of that. I don't know why they're not doing it, especially when now you could do that thing like I was saying, have your Wii U in some way communicate with your internet to your computer and just be able to print it out. You could easily do that. Come on, Nintendo. Make Pokemon Snap 2. There's no reason not to, especially when the Wii U is kind of struggling. It's something you could make pretty quickly. HAL Laboratories, they have the time now. There's not really a whole lot going on there after a lot of the big releases have already happened. You already had Smash, you already had, the new Kirby, but we don't really know what's happening behind the scenes, what's coming next. But this should be an easy project that you could pump out in a year, no problem. Pokemon Snap, again, slightly too short, slightly too over, simplistic, but at the same time, those are almost pluses in a way. So it's a very, very solid game with a very bizarre premise that I would definitely give an 8 out of 10. Very fun game, something you should check out, and it's one of the few games that I feel for the N64 that really stands the test of time. There's sort of a short list of maybe a little over a dozen games that are N64 exclusives that really, really stand up still today and are still, in a way, better than a lot of things you're getting on new consoles. and this, strangely, is one of them. Pokemon Snap, a very surprisingly good game.